Members of the community joining us here in the chambers and online. Can I please ask everyone to take their seats and please make sure your phones are on silent. Welcome to the Public Forum for Monday the 20th of October 2025. Public Forum is an important opportunity for members of our community to speak directly to Council about agenda matters listed for tomorrow's ordinary meeting of Council, which will commence tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I'd like to remind everyone that today's forum is live streamed. Your attendance here today is taken as consent for your image and your voice to be recorded and broadcast publicly. A recording of this forum will remain available on Council's website for at least 12 months. In the chambers today, we have Councillor Dean Saul, Councillor Ben Pakes, Councillor Alexandra Wyatt, Councillor Noel Selby, Councillor Annette Lawrence, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Julie Coburn, and online we have Councillor Adam Matchett and Councillor Arthur Bain. From Council staff, we're joined by Mr. Andrew Meadow, our Chief Executive, Mr. Daniel Thorogood, Director Corporate and Commercial, Mr. Wesley Trotter, Director of Utilities, Mrs. Talia Webster, Governance Advisor, and Miss Keely Halliday, Executive Officer to Corporate and Commercial. We have no apologies for today's public forum. I'd like to acknowledge country. Before we begin, Kempsey Shire Council acknowledges the land of the Dunghutti Nation. We pay respects to our elders past and present and to emerging leaders who continue to guide us into the future. We also acknowledge the stolen generations and the ongoing need to create inclusive and culturally safe spaces for all. This land always was and always will be Dunghutti land. As we begin, I'd like to remind everyone that the public forum is a respectful space. Speakers are encouraged to share their views openly, and we ask that everyone listens with courtesy and consideration. Council values hearing from our community, and while opinions may differ, respect for one another allows us to have meaningful discussions that strengthen our shire. I'll now call for any conflicts of interest from councillors. Councillor Pakes.
I have a conflict of interest with the Community Grounds 10.2. I am a sporting club member of one of the cricket clubs and have been associated with cricket in the area for many, many years. So it's pretty hard not to know someone in that field, and I will leave the room if required, if it's the direction of the CEO.
Thank you, Councillor Pakes. I think given your reasoning, it'd be up to you on how you want to deal with that conflict.
Yeah, and just another one is the Girls on Fire. Bronnie, the Girls on Fire person who's received some grant funding, she's also an employee of Fire and Rescue New South Wales, who I'm employed by as well.
So you have a significant pecuniary interest or non-significant non-pecuniary?
Non-significant non-pecuniary, thanks, yeah.
Councillor Bain.
Madam Mayor, yes, I have a significant non-pecuniary interest in 11.3, the council representation on the Hillgrove Mines Community Reference Group, as I've been involved long-term in discussions with the various operators of the mine, and the Lavoto Resources invited me as a councillor to be on there, and I said, yeah, I can't, it has to go to council, so I'm going to remove myself from debate. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bain. Are there any other conflicts, councillors? I hear none. I'll now invite our Chief Executive, Mr. Andrew Meadow, to outline the guidelines for today's public forum.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Public forums are to be chaired by the Mayor or their nominee. Each speaker will be allowed 5 minutes to address council. This time is to be strictly enforced by the chairperson. Speakers at public forums must not digress from the item on the agenda of the council meeting they have applied to address the council on. If a speaker digresses to irrelevant matters, the chairperson is to direct the speaker not to do so. If a speaker fails to observe a direction from the chairperson, the speaker will not be further heard. A councillor, including the chairperson, may, through the chairperson, ask questions of a speaker following their address at a public forum. Questions put to a speaker must be direct, succinct, and without argument. Speakers are under no obligation to answer a question put under clause 4.15. Answers by the speaker to each question are limited to 1 minute. Speakers of public forums cannot ask questions of the council, councillors or council staff. When addressing the council, speakers of public forums must comply with this code and all other relevant council codes, policies and procedures. Speakers must refrain from engaging in disorderly conduct, publicly alleging breaches of the council's code of conduct, or making other potentially defamatory statements. If the chairperson considers that a speaker at a public forum has engaged in the conduct of the type referred to in clause 4.20, the chairperson may request the person to refrain from the inappropriate behaviour and to withdraw and unreservedly apologise for any inappropriate comments. Where the speaker fails to comply with the chairperson's request, the chairperson may immediately require the person to stop speaking. Clause 4.21 does not limit the ability of the chairperson to deal with disorderly conduct by speakers at public forums in accordance with the provisions of Part 14 of this code. Where a speaker engages in conduct of the type referred to in clause 4.20, the General Manager or their delegate may refuse further applications from that person to speak at public forums for such a period as the General Manager or their delegate considers appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Medal. And thank you to everyone who's taken the time to register and speak with us today. Your contributions help inform Council's decisions and ensure that community voices are part of the conversation. We have 8 speakers registered for today's public forum. I'll now invite our first speaker, Maria Johnson, to speak against item 10.1, Crescent Head Foreshore, Proposed Concept Plan. When you're ready.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm speaking on behalf of Save the Crescent Head Point Car Park Group and the users of the space in relation to the reduction of the north-facing car parks by 45%, almost half, as per the proposed plan, with a preference of the extended car park option with no surf check. I want to talk about the safety issues around the surf check and the lack of information on the survey. The car park is not just a car park. It's a culturally significant gathering space. It has been used this way by surfers dating back to the 1950s. Many marriages and babies have been born out of people meeting in this space. It's a gazetted National Surf Reserve. It is important not only to the people of this shire, but for many visitors who enjoy the experience and convenience of parking up at the point, to be able to watch loved ones in the surf in all weather conditions from an elevated position in their car. An online petition to save the car park now has over 8,900 signatures. As a group, our preference is the extended car park option, with survey feedback supporting this. It's still a drastic loss of 30% of the north-facing car parks. However, it is a reasonable compromise and does not reduce the amount of green space proposed. And it doesn't detract from the wonderful job CAG and Council have done in the redesign of the rest of the foreshore. Safety issues and the surf check. The surf check is an invitation for people to drive by directly alongside the green space, busy with families and children riding bikes, chasing balls, whilst they're encouraged to be looking out to sea to check the surf. It's not safe. The surf check will be approximately 20 metres of vehicle movement with cars constantly passing through. For those using the green space, it will feel more like sitting beside a road or a roundabout than enjoying a peaceful, community-orientated space. This design prioritises cars over people and significantly detracts from the intended atmosphere and purpose of the green space. There is already a designated turnaround and preferred surf check area at the end of the point, which many of the survey participants also pointed out. There is also an online surf camera for people to check the surf. The surf check will not deter people from driving down the end of the point. The road into Crescent Head ends at the end of the point. It's just a thing people do. People of all ages, not necessarily surfers. The lack of information on the survey. The long-standing issues of the front row car parks is the key reason this project has been delayed for years and has led to a significant waste of ratepayers' funds. The 2020 Domain project gave an inaccurate number of existing car parks and council disregarded the community feedback. The decision aligned with the council's February 21 holiday park concept plan, which proposed converting Area 9, the area at the end of the point, into a cabin precinct. Council and CAG were aware of these controversial, contentious issues. The concept plan was just a picture. It gave no existing or proposed front row car park numbers, nor measurements of the green space. I mentioned this at the council engagement on the 10th of July. The following day, the information document was created and released on the website. 10 weeks after the plans were released and 10 days prior to submission closure. I had understood that the advisory group was intended to support a more honest, transparent and democratic process. However, in the absence of the relative information, this has prevented the community from making fully informed submissions, which undermines that intention. In conclusion, CAG and Council have done an extraordinary job in managing the responses to the survey, reflecting the wishes of the respondents in all areas of the plan. The green space has been widened, the markets have been catered for. The car park number has been increased to cater for current and future demand. The only area that has not been responded to adequately is the feedback to preserve the north face car parking. Adopting the option of the extended car park will make this a successful project. It will have achieved a plan that satisfies the majority. This, and with the new GM, it will be an opportunity to rebuild trust in the council and unify the community. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Councillors, is there any questions? Councillor Bain.
Morning, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Ms Johnson. I'm just wondering, because I noted in the engagement summary that there was a concern that in the round one there was like 3% response from 18 to 34-year-olds. In the round two, there was 25% of response.
Sorry, Arthur, we're just having a little bit of trouble with your connection. Would you be able to turn off your camera and then repeat your question?
I think I know what he's referring to. If I can just have a second to say, I think.
Sorry, he'll need to make the question clear.
Okay. I've just got the page.
34.
Arthur, we'll just come back to you. Councillor Lawrence.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Thanks, Maria, so much for coming in today and speaking on behalf of the community. I just had a question around the current plan that's before us. Are you happy and is the community happy with the plan, considering you mentioned some of the things in your speech around obviously the surf check and different points in your speech? And also, do you think the information that has been provided to us is informative? Or do you think there should, is there anything else that you feel like we need to know to make an informed decision?
Which information are you talking about? Are you talking about the information in the survey or just additional information?
Just overall, yeah. Is there anything else you can think of? Or, yeah, maybe just answer the first one, I guess, instead of...
So
just are you happy with the current plan that's before us, and is the community happy with that? Obviously, in mentioning, you said around the surf check, that's probably one of the main things you mentioned.
Yeah.
Is there any other thoughts on that?
I'm speaking on behalf of everybody. This battle's been going on for 5 years, and it's been over the front row car parks. A loss of almost 50% of it, I think that's not a balance. The option of the extended car park, which is with the no surf check, it takes the loss down to 30%. And I think I can speak for everybody. That's a far better option than taking those car parks for what does seem quite apparent that the surf check is not a safe place. It's not a good place to put it. There's already one. The community says no.
Do you have any further questions? Councillor Selby.
I'll turn that on. Thanks, Maria. Appreciate you coming and what you've put forward. What impact do you think the surf check will have on the green space?
The surf check area will disconnect the foreshore green space. There will be a break in the parked up cars of 20 metres of open moving traffic immediately alongside the green space. And at the end of the surf check, the cars will be parked up again. The surf check is going to detract from the intended purpose of the atmosphere of the green space. And that section of the foreshore, I mean, it'll feel like you're sitting on a roadside, but the drivers won't be looking where they're going because they're being encouraged to look out to sea. And it's a high traffic area for children and yeah.
Another one supplementary. What do you think are the main safety implications?
The green space as it is, particularly down the end closer to the cafe, it's always busy with young children and families. The concept of the moving traffic adjoining the green space immediately raises concerns regarding children, particularly, as I pointed out, they're encouraged to be looking out to sea. The parked up cars, in a way, provide a buffer from constantly moving traffic. I mean, naturally, cars parked up in a car park, it's an issue. It's a car park, though. People are moving in and out. But they're parking. They're not being encouraged to look elsewhere, and they park up, and then that's it. So I think that's kind of really all I've got to say there.
Just one more. Where do you think the surf check should be if there is to be a surf check?
No, there already is a surf check. There's a preferred surf check at the end of the point. It does seem pointless designating another area of the highly valued, I mean, that area of the foreshore, that's what we're all after. Why would you have two areas to do the same thing and a surf camera? It doesn't make sense to me. I don't even know where the idea came from. It's certainly not going to detract people from going down the end of the point because that's a thing. It's just a thing. Everybody does it, not necessarily surfers. I think it's going to cause a backlog of traffic coming into the point if people are stopping there, and I don't know how it's going to be managed. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Wyatt.
Thank you. I think you did a really good job on that, by the way. But
thank you.
Yeah, it was very, very good. I have one question about the timed parking. So at the moment, it's got 4 hours, 2 hours, and let's supposing that the surf check is put in place. What do you think? And say, what do you think is a reasonable time to put in a numbered parking, like a limit of parking on that surf check space? So you got 2 hours and 4 hours. There will be, I'm assuming, some limit placed on if that surf check is turned into parking. What do you think, and what do the people that you represent see as a reasonable timed limit of that parking space, if any? Yeah.
Sorry, you just needed.
Yeah. If it was the 9 car park.
Yeah.
Well, the whole foreshore is 4 hours, except for I think there's about 25 parks closer to the cafe currently that are 2 hours. Mm-hmm. It's not for me to make those decisions, but for me and probably for most of the crew here, 3-4 hours we're at the surf. By the time we get there and go for a surf for a couple of hours, have a coffee, and not only us, a family loading up to go to the beach for the day. I'm pretty sure they don't want to be keeping an eye on a 2 hour. We've got 2 hours, kids. You know, it doesn't. I've taken my kids to the beach. I think that would be a lot of pressure.
A lot. So just in general, the people that you're representing would be happy with a 4-hour parking limit on that space. And no, people, yes?
I believe 4 hours represents a reasonable amount of time.
Councillor Bain.
It's back.
Is in the chat. What do you think made the difference in the second round of engagement when responses from 18 to 34-year-olds increased from 3% to 25%? What made the difference, do you think, Maria?
Inform the young people and the users of the space on the foreshore of the detail that council and CAG failed to put on the concept plan, and we encourage them to do the survey. The question I would be asking is, why did council or CAG, I'm not sure who's responsible, not provide the information in the first place? I mean, that's why this whole project has dragged out 5 years, because of the lack of information. These young guys and the people on the foreshore who are holidaying, they're all busy working and living their lives. They would never have known what council had planned for the foreshore if we didn't tell them, right? Like, would you have known? They're not going to go looking for this information. I would imagine that council and CAG would think this is a good thing, right? That these younger people were informed and they did do the survey.
Thank you. Councillor Pakes.
Well, I must say it's great to have some interaction from the community about a topic that we're making decisions on, because it's the most topical one we've had so far. So thank you for everyone being involved. My question is around funding for this project, and what if the changes are made that you request, how do you think that would improve the chances of having funding available for that project? Because you're not funded at the moment, and it's in Crown land, so the Crown land funding would be something you'd get it for. But how would the changes make that plan better to gain funding?
And I think the majority of us who use the space just love the space. I think that would have to be like a question for more like a administrative level. I don't know about grant funding, so I don't know.
That's okay, Ms. Johnson. If you don't want to answer the question or don't have an
I
answer,
want
fine.
to have a better understanding of what Ben's asking me.
I think what I'm probably asking is the net increase in parking in that space. There's got to be a better thing for everyone, not just the people in this room. And so that's probably where my question's going towards.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I feel like if we don't look after the visitors coming to town, the people in the Shire, we're not even going to be looking after the people of Crescent Head getting a car park. So it's not just about us, it's about everybody. And with the new development, just around the corner, you know, that's I think 117 new housing lots. Throw in another at least 200 cars in the little Crescent Head area. It's a lot. It's a big increase.
And
Councillor Pakes, thank you.
Have you got any comment on the Willow Street section of the plan? What's your group consider on that front? It's a massive increase in parking in that area.
Well, Ben, I think that's a bit debatable because, and I had this conversation with Grant Dennis, the Willow Street is already a car park. If you're talking capacity, it's already full up. They're not actually adding any more to it. They're just going to formalise what's there and put some more bitumen down, I believe, is what I noticed in the picture. So it's not really an increase in car parking as general. In fact, it's actually less down there because the overflow campground car parks have now been blocked off from using that. So that was one thing I did notice over the long weekend, was at 6 o'clock on Sunday morning when there, that was chockers. There was one car park left.
Thank you.
So if you had a magic wand, you'd be happy with the extra 9 car parks, and that would be a compromise position to have a 30% reduction in the foreshore, and that would be the best outcome from all that, in your opinion?
If I had a magic wand, I'd probably reduce area 15 as well. Because that's another 17 car parks, 7 of them which are north facing. That area is like 50 metres of open space. That's a lot. If I had a magic wand and if it was up to me, I would probably like to see that reduced down to about 30 and regain those 17 car parks.
Who's the net beneficiary of that area 15? Who do you think will be the users of that area?
Maybe the surf club will hold some events out there, or I don't really know. But it does seem like a massive space to not have somebody's got some plan for it, because it just seems like a big open space.
And about positives, give me some more positives. There's got to be some other good things that come out of that.
Well, as I said in my speech, CAG and council have done a phenomenal job in the plan, in responding to all the survey, for changing all the areas that according to the responses in the survey. It's just, I feel like the project's fallen a bit short in the two things: not providing the information and not responding to the survey according to the foreshore, the front row car parks.
Thank you. If there's no further questions, thank you for your time. We now have a second speaker speaking against the item, Miss Melinda Coram. She's joining us by audio-visual link. Unfortunately, she doesn't have her camera. Oh, she does now. Well, thank you. Melinda, you can speak when you're ready. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone, Madam Mayor and councillors. My name is Melinda Coram. I am the owner of Point Break Cafe, located at the Kempsey Crescent Head Surf Life Saving Club. Thank you for the opportunity to speak at this public forum. Firstly, on behalf of our community, thank you to the CAG committee for their time and effort in redesigning and improving the foreshore precinct. I have owned the lease at the Surf Club Cafe for 6 years, and I would like to put forward my opinion and discuss Area 15 on the concept plan. Area 15 is a proposed green space located directly in front of the cafe. This space is going to measure approximately 50 metres. It will start from the cafe and continue along the existing north-facing beachfront car parks. When I measured the space of 50 metres, it would take up approximately 45% of the existing north-facing car park. Please let me clarify that I am not opposed to the green space known as Area 15. I am concerned about the size of the green space in the concept plan. The size of 50 metres is a large area. If reduced to approximately 30 metres, I believe the public can retain 17 car parks. 7 of those are prime beachfront car parks. When I set up the cafe at 5 a.m. most days, I see the north-facing parks to be the first used by everyone. During the holidays and when the surf is good, the entire north-facing car park can be full by 6 a.m. Everyone wants to park in those spots, and they are the closest to the beach. That is why these prime parks play a huge role in the lifestyle and culture of Crescent Head. It is a well-known fact that we need extra car parking overall, and I believe the past surveys conducted have shown that the community would like to retain the north-facing car parks. Therefore, a decrease in the green space from 50 metres to approximately 30 metres will provide ample green space for the community to enjoy and will give the community back 17 car parks. The latest minutes from the CAG meeting also suggest that 50 metres of green space is generous. This seems like a fair option, considering how important the extra car park spaces are to everyone who uses the foreshore area. In addition, the long-term maintenance of Area 15 is a concern. Being located right on the beach will be subject to consistent wind. The nice grass area will quickly turn into dust. I have experienced this around the surf club prior to the artificial grass. There is also a need for shelter so the public can enjoy the green space. Shelter is lacking at the moment. My commercial umbrellas and the pandanus tree currently do not provide enough shade for the amount of people who gather in this area. To encourage more users of the green space, we desperately need more shelter. I recently witnessed one of the busiest October long weekends we've had at Crescent Head. The local businesses all agreed it was one of the busiest too. I experienced an increase in tourism trade every school holidays. As usual, the car park was absolutely congested. This is one of the reasons I decided to speak today. I'm afraid if the public cannot find a park at the foreshore, they may resent the large amount of green space or even park on it, as they do around town. There is one other concern that I have in relation to the large amount of green space that will surround the cafe. The close car parks that we have at the moment act as a security measure for the staff who set up early in the morning. Having cars and people nearby acts as a deterrent for potential crime and makes us feel safe.
You have a minute left.
I understand from the report that the total number of parks will increase. By the time the car park is completed, combined with the continual growth of the usage of the car park by everyone, we'll need as many car parks as possible. By reducing the green space in Area 15, the public will have extra recreational space and we gain an extra 17 car parks. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, councillors. Do we have any questions? Councillor Pakes.
Thanks very much, Mel, for taking the time. You make perfect logic. That's very logical in what you're saying. Specifically, how have you engaged with this process so far? How has your voice been heard being the proprietor of that area? How have you been able to contribute so far to this plan?
Thank you for your question. I was asked to hand out the surveys at the cafe. The council left the surveys for me to distribute. I had to therefore assist people to answer some questions. I have face-to-face interactions with many people every day of all cross-sections of the community. And I have been at the point for a long time. I've been through the previous process of the car park as well. And I have become very familiar with the issues of the car park over the time. So I act as a member of the community who is just acting on behalf of everyone's best interests.
Mel, you heard the previous speaker's safety concerns. Have you observed the idea of younger kids along that edge where the cars are quite close to your premises? Have you observed the kids that can be a place close to cars currently? I know, and I absolutely take the point that if there's cars driving past and there's a space for young children, that it's a safety issue. Have you observed that in your area?
Yes, I have. Yes, the car parks are very close to the cafe, and some extra green space would be very welcomed as long as there is shelter and seating and a nice space for people to enjoy, for children to enjoy. But yes, there is plenty of action down at the point, dogs, families, people of all ages utilising the space. And the safety concern is not a huge issue. There are always parents around, but it is something to consider, definitely.
Mel, do you have any comment on the rest of the plan over in Willow Street? Any thoughts on that part?
No, I don't actually. I do certainly agree, and with the rest of the plan, I think the extra green space at the playground area, the relocation of the skate park is an excellent idea. I do see a lot of danger around that skate park. So I agree with all of the plan, except for some extra parts along the foreshore, which could be achieved by reducing that green space by a small percentage. I am for the green space, just not the large area.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Selby.
Yeah, Melinda, thanks for your presentation. Area 15, what would your solution be to the shelter? What would you like to see there?
That's a good question. I would like to see as much shelter as possible. In fact, I was very happy to build a shelter when I first arrived there. However, there were plans in place to, in the short term, to have shelter there built by council. And then these plans have come about. So I have held off. But I feel that in this day and age with the UV issue that we need shelter for everyone. Elderly, children, families. There isn't enough shelter at the moment.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions, councillors? Councillor Coburn.
Thank you. Hi, Melinda. Thanks for your presentation today. And I understand your concerns. As a question I have around that area 15, I think it also would benefit from greening. I can see that it would very quickly just brown off during the dry, hot summer. How do you think that the community would feel, though, about the obstruction to the view if we were looking at placing trees, bushes, shrubs, things that will create shade? How do you think the community would feel if we looked at greening that space?
I personally think the community would really enjoy that. I think they'll be for that. It wouldn't obstruct any views. It would provide more shelter, and they'll be able to use the space. At the moment, I see on those hot summer days that we have, even windy days, everyone runs in and hides in their cars. So as much shelter as possible, I'm sure, would be welcomed, whether it be trees or permanent structures, by the community.
Thank you, Melinda.
Are there any further questions? I hear none. Thank you for your time, Melinda. I'll now move to Mr. Ken Scotton, who will speak against item 10.1, Crescent Head Foreshore Proposed Concept Plan. Mr. Scotton.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak on behalf of the foreshore proposal. I wish to thank the community members of the CAG group who willingly gave up their free time to create this design. I originally planned to speak against several aspects of the proposal, but due to time constraints, chose to concentrate on the option to replace the surf check area with more foreshore parking, which would effectively negate any benefit to be gained by carrying out a refurbishment project at all. Although I don't support many of the decisions taken by CAG, as I envisaged a design that enhanced the foreshore rather than one that delivered maximum parking via loss of open green space. I do support the inclusion of the surf check area, which was also an integral feature of the previous 2021 design. The surf check area is critical to the functional design of the car park by providing easy access with quick coastal viewing, provides emergency services vehicle access to the foreshore when required, and largely negates the current pedestrian versus vehicle safety issues caused by vehicles using the eastern end turning circle for viewing when the foreshore frontage car parks are full, which is most of the time. In 2019, I was part of the 25-person group tasked with providing community-based input into developing the Crescent Head Public Domain project, inclusive of the foreshore component. This was later put on hold due to an objection supported by a misinformation-based online petition commissioned by a small group of self-interested individuals labelling themselves Save the Car Park. It should be noted Save the Car Park did not engage in the community planning stage of the 2019 project, but instead chose to dictate their own foreshore agenda after the design was completed. This caused the then council to pause approval of the design of the foreshore area for future discussion. Fast forward to 2025, the exact site criteria is being used by Save the Car Park to circumvent the current proposed CAG design by once again failing to initially engage via CAG participation, then seeking to dictate design after the event. In fact, CAG voted in favour to include the surf check area instead of additional parking, but that doesn't satisfy, say, the car park. The option to remove the surf check area mysteriously found its way into the public display documents over 8 weeks after the submission period commenced on 12 May and 12 days before close of submission on 21 July. When I questioned council project design staff of its origin so late in the submission period, they were unable or unwilling to explain other than, I think it's a good idea, and it was bound to come up anyway. The options were hidden away in the Yorsay Macleay project documentation under additional information, which was initially dated but is now undated, with the impact of those options unexplained. So for the untrained, it would be hard to define the impact. I'm happy to explain impact if anybody asks a question. Considering most have already lodged submissions or viewed project plans prior to 10 July, why would they revisit Yorsay Macleay page to see if anything had changed? From 10 July 1, one member of the Save the Car Park group could be seen haunting the car park and accosting visitors while brandishing a self-serving how to vote sheet, complete with scanned code and answers to Yorsay Macleay questionnaire, further supported by any level of verbal misinformation in support of their cause for more foreshore car parking spaces. This coincided with a late spike in submissions supporting the removal of the surf check area. If you look at the engagement summary, page 6, visitor summary graph of submissions, you will see a massive spike in inline submissions supporting their agenda starting around 10 July. All they needed was 10 days this time to subvert the submission process and statistics to support their agenda. Councillors, I'm pretty sure you've all been deluged with phone calls, emails and requests for meetings from, say, the car park to push their agenda. Please be astute and recognise you're being played the same as councillors were in 2021 and vote to support the final foreshore plan inclusive of the surf check. Council still has a lot of work to do on this project, and approval of the surf check area is paramount to the design and functionality of the car park. Removing it will further congest the foreshore and require a major car park redesign for no net gain in parking spaces and no net gain to the foreshore reserve. Vote no to the option and yes to retain the surf check area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scotton. Councillors, do we have questions? Councillor Pakes.
Thanks for taking the time, Ken. I'm going to ask you the same question as I asked the previous speakers. How does leaving it as it is be useful for gaining funding? What is the major benefit if there's no major increase in car parking spaces? What is the benefit to community to make funding?
I think the foreshores.
Just let me finish.
Sorry.
And the reason I asked this is because I sat down with my local member and asked him the same question.
Yeah.
And because I want to get money for this project. So you've got to tell me how we're going to get the money for it if it doesn't provide something, outstanding.
Look, I think the foreshore at the moment is tired. It's been lacking maintenance for years and years and years. It's been let to go into disrepair. It's been abused. It's been overused. Quite honestly, I don't know how you'll get funding for it. I don't think it'll fit any criteria. I don't think it's any priority in the Shire. I mean, it could take 5 years to get funding for it. By that stage, everything will change. I don't think the addition of additional parking in there at the expense of green space is a benefit for what is a prime holiday entity in Kempsey Shire. I don't think putting what amounts to a Woolworths car park on the foreshore of the surf reserve is acceptable. I think we need to protect the environment down there. I think we need to limit parking spaces. We need to increase green space, and we need to give it room to breathe. And that's the problem there.
Thank you, Mr. Scotton. Councillor Wyatt and then Councillor Selby.
Thank you for your presentation. We've heard two speakers, yourself and the first speaker. First speaker talked about, Maria Johnson, talked about design. The design prioritises the people, the green space over the car park, and you've talked about the design prioritises car park over the people. That's a split decision for councillors to make. And we've heard a bit about green space. So can you explain a bit more why you think that the design prioritises the car park over the people / green space?
Currently, the proposed design incorporates what the area, the green space area that accommodated the markets. That entire area should have been transferred across as green space offset into the foreshore area. If you read council documents, there's at least a 400-metre reduction in green space in the foreshore area. That's the reason you've got an additional 20% of car parking spaces in that same footprint. Each car parking space takes up around 15 square metres plus access and circulation roads. The green space hasn't been offset. It's been absorbed, and other options will also absorb more of that green space. And there's also an option to actually go into the footprint of the holiday park, which financially a ridiculous option.
May I just ask
The clarification.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or were you
on
going to do that?
Clarification on the last point. Was that what you
The
were
last one.
on the financially ridiculous?
Of the last statement I made about the impact, financial impact. Okay, over down at on the eastern end of the car park, there was originally, so the expansion of the car park in that area was to put another line of cars parallel to the fence with the holiday park. The new design, which shows 90-degree parking on either side of that road, further encroaches into the premium area of the holiday park. It will mean the removal of camping spaces, and what it'll mean is that that car park will move in very close proximity to those premium cabins and premium camp spaces in those areas. And let's face it, Holiday Park has a 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. Curfew on noise. How would you like to be in there when there's a car park out in front of you that's open from till midnight, only closed between midnight and 5 a.m. if there's compliance? Doesn't add up.
Mr. Scotton.
Yeah, thank you. My clarification was just around, you said something along the lines of there is a 400-metre reduction in the green space.
Yep.
And an increase in the roadway because the area where the markets are at the moment wasn't, like, the value of that space wasn't.
Wasn't completely. It's in the documentation of the loss of green space in the area, and it will increase. Okay, so let me take it one step further. Sorry. If there's no approval to migrate into the holiday park, there's an option in there to move that car parking at the eastern end of the car park further into the green space, which will further reduce green space. At the opposite end, at the western end of the car park, there's now an option to put in what was the drop-off zone and community bus parking, to turn that into 90-degree parking, further encroaching by another 60 square metre loss into the green space. So you're going to end up with big as rubbery, well, I don't know, 400, 500 square metres of lost green space in the foreshore.
Yeah.
Councillor Selby.
Thanks for your presentation, Ken. You mentioned self-serving in your presentation. Who are you referring to?
Self-serving? Well, I would say, and who are the people that are down there in the car park most of the time all day with their white vans pulled up with the backs up? Many of the Save the Car Park group. Sorry, guys. Truth out there. There's no time. There's no consideration of time. 2-hour parking zones, 4-hour parking zones. Don't worry about it. Where is no compliance? We talked about this in the last meeting about compliance in the Crescent Head car park, or the lack of compliance. It's a result of that lack of compliance. You fix the compliance, you'll fix the overstay.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. And councillors, is there any? Councillor Coburn.
Thanks, Mr. Scotton, for your presentation. I appreciate your time. You mentioned that there were other aspects of this that you were concerned about. You didn't feel you had time to speak about. Just briefly, what are they?
Okay, I mentioned the eastern end of the car park. I've referred to the western end of the car park. I'll come back to that. The area where the markets were will now be become part of the parking area. Again, premium camp space. We're going to move or migrate the car park closer up to those camping spots. Same impact as you've got out in the eastern end. You've got people going in premium parking spots, paying premium prices, and council gets a financial return from that. They're now going to be camped right next to a public car park that realistically is in service until midnight, and then again at 5 a.m. in the morning. Would you like to camp there? Certainly not. Going back to the western end of the car park, there's an option now to. I'm going to run out of time. There's an option to put parallel 90-degree parking in there and to push the buses into the area behind the surf club. That's a shared space where the main pathway passes through with all the kids going backwards and forwards. Ask me another question, I'll tell you about it. Yeah.
Can you please outline for me exactly what you mean by that area?
Okay. That area at the moment, there's 5 parking spaces for the surf club there. I think there's 3 boat parking spaces. It's a very congested area. There's a boat ramp, traffic through there. In the middle of that area is the main parkway that comes along the creek, picks up the bridge, goes around parts of the surf club to the foreshore. A very busy area, people passing to and fro all the time. That is now the option to park community buses and other buses in that area. Could you imagine having kids walking around when you've got buses in there trying to negotiate? And the biggest problem with this car park is, and we know about Crescent Head car park, every space is a winner for people that go in there. They don't care about signs. They don't care about whether there should be a bus there or a trailer. They don't care if it's a no stopping. They don't care if it's a no standing. They just park their cars. It'll just create a disaster in that area.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. And Councillor Pakes, did you have a supplementary question? Follow-up question?
Ken, I'm just looking at the numbers that are of green space. The existing green space, 8,330, and the concept plan's 9,228. Can you just, as a councillor, I'm reading that there's an increase in green space from the existing to the concept on the foreshore. So can you explain what you mean if that's what we've been putting in front of us?
Microphone, Mr. Scotton. Microphone, Mr. Scotton.
If you go back in the original descriptions of the area, and this is an envelope, it hasn't changed, it hasn't got any larger. The figures don't correspond with each other. In fact, the report, and I did have it this afternoon, states that there at the moment there's a minimum 300 square metre loss of green space due to the changes in that car parking area. If you look at those figures there, they don't add up. The ones you're referring to, they don't correlate. There's a difference in them. They don't add up to the same square meterage. I think there's 100 to 200 different square metre difference in those figures you've got there between each other. If you go back to the other document, I think it was on the Your Same Macleay website. It's in there about the loss of space.
We'll now have Mr. Ross Foster, who will speak for item 10.1.
CEO Andrew, Mayor Kinney, councillors and staff, thank you for the opportunity to address you and speak in support of item 10.1, Crescent Head Foreshore Proposed Concept Plan. My name is Ross Foster. I was a member of the advisory group, and I am a life member of Crescent Head Surf Lifesaving Club, amongst numerous other community volunteer organisations. As we heard before, the foreshore area is visually tied. The grassed areas of the foreshore to relax, to socialise or to view the ocean. There needed to be an increase in both parking spaces and green space to accommodate locals and visitors alike. Through consultation with the community, the input of the Crescent Head Foreshore Community Advisory Group, CAG, along with council planning, this redesign of the foreshore has been implemented. With increased populations everywhere, it has become impossible to allocate more and more parking in specific areas. It is indeed now not a right, but more a privilege to be able to park a vehicle so close to the water's edge. Not everyone can park front row, north-facing foreshore parking. Yet this is what the opponents of the council plan are seeking. Plus, they also add there's too much green space. Shades of Joni Mitchell and Big Yellow Taxi. Further, those opposed to Council's plan talk of a long-standing cultural aspect of Crescent Head Point car park. They even call it iconic. The only iconic aspect of the foreshore is the Crescent Head National Surf Reserve. The car park has always been evolving and changing over many decades. When the first locals to surf the point, David Cheers, Bob Maven and John Westaway, took to the waves on their balsa boards in the 1950s, the car park was just an area of dirt. No borders, no bollards, the only structures being a wooden weather shed and the second of eventually 4 surf club buildings. In later decades, in the 60s and the 70s, this area of land was managed by the Reserve Trust, with 2 of the committee having to be surf club members. Further, on Sundays, users of the foreshore had to pay to enter and use the reserve, profits going to the maintenance of the area. First paid parking. With the demolition of the weather shed, the building of the 3rd and now the 4th surf club building, the placing of bollards to ensure a barrier between vehicles, pedestrians and the shoreline, we continue to experience continued changes to the foreshore. We are now prepared for further changes due to increased usage of patrons, larger and longer vehicles, and the consequent safety measures that need to be undertaken to implement these procedures. As stated earlier, I was one of 13 community representatives on the advisory group. Our members represented most relevant groups within our village: ratepayers, business owners, professional people, country club, fishing, surf club, young parents, surfers, dog walkers and retirees, the majority being long-term residents of our village. Amongst us all, we had a wide range of knowledge, experience and expertise. We all came together with our own ideas and preconceived plans for how the foreshore should look. 8 meetings later, and after many, many hours of discussion, both within the group and externally, all of our group bar one have compromised and agreed on this concept plan that we feel will benefit both locals and visitors to Crescent Head. I urge all councillors to support item 10.1 at tomorrow's meeting. This is my 3rd presentation to council on future planning Crescent Head foreshore and to my 3rd mayor. I finish as I did previously back in 2021 and 2022. Crescent Head is now busy all year round, and we have to adapt to changes in ways we hadn't previously imagined. As a resident that's been here for the long haul, over 50 years, I can only hope that some solid decisions are made by you, our elected council, because you have the capacity, you have the power, and now you have the knowledge to now support the proposed concept plan. My dream is that I can see in my lifetime the many, many hours spent in consultation actually come to fruition. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Foster. OAM. Councillor Pakes.
G'day, Ross. Good to see you again. I've seen you in many different situations in the valley. My question to you is, what did you compromise on in that plan? What was the thing that you missed out and didn't get exactly what you wanted in that plan? Because I know that other groups and so on have compromised. What did you miss out on and have to compromise on?
I'd actually rather not say, because we've all come to one decision, and that is with the plan, except for one.
Fair call. What about you've been in education for a long time. Do you recognise the safety concerns of that area where the cars will be moving and it's a recreation area?
Well, we talk about buses being there. Buses will only be there on a school day when school sport is on, when kids come out there. So there's not a great deal of younger children there. Holiday times, no buses, no school. So that isn't a problem. With the increased area of the foreshore, the market's moving across to the creek area, and far better configured parking, I don't see any safety dangers. With the Area 15 we've been talking about, that again gives greater area for children to play, families to meet.
Yeah, mine's specifically on that surf check. That's the bit that's sort of poked out at me today. And like, I attended the July 10 meeting and listened to the other people in the room and so on. And that's just after that's when the extra information occurred. But so I'd probably just ask you specifically about that area.
Well, contrary to what we've heard, I believe if there's a surf check area, it's going to be an area, hopefully, people will learn to utilise rather than having to drive up to the eastern end of the point. So we have less traffic going up there once the car park area there is full. And the fact that there aren't any cars in the surf check area, as some people want, backing out, that adds to far greater safety. And also, I think it'll be far better utilised, especially if there's compliance and there's signage.
And I'd just like to thank you for your time for putting into the
Thank you.
CAG group. Yeah.
Councillor Wyatt.
Excuse me. Sorry. I just wanted to, oh, sorry. Has anyone else got a question? I'm right there.
Councillor Coburn.
Thanks for your presentation. Appreciate your time. Just one general question, just with CAG, because it was put together as a cross-section of the community. Did you consistently have the full numbers attending the meetings?
We did have, except for one person who was named by council, didn't turn up. I've tried to Google them or find out who that was. There is one person with that name living in Crescent Head. There is another person who I believe is a surfer who lives in Maroubra and has a business on the north shore of Sydney. We didn't have a representative, unfortunately, from the Indigenous group, and that to me was a shame, because looking back to the council report, one of the comments is that there should be input from the Dunghutti people, especially the Naku people.
Thank you, Mr. Foster. Councillor Wyatt.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. I've got a couple of questions for you, but the first one, I wanted to go back to your statement about the entrance fee to the foreshore. Do you know under what sort of statute or law that was made?
And I have no idea. I know I've spoken to a person at Crescent Head who said my brother used to be there and used to hand out tickets, and occasionally people wouldn't want the tickets, so the tickets stay in the roll, the money went in the pocket. But that's what happened back in those days. Yeah, and there was a gate there as well, so they shut the gate.
And who was collecting it for? What organisation was collecting it for?
Well, apparently it was for the Reserve Trust, who were the people who were in charge of that area.
And it was, whereabouts would that have been? Like, if you sort of put that on the ground today, where would that have been?
Probably just past the roundabout as you come in from Reserve Road. There used to be a petrol bowser there, and there was a gate as well.
Yeah, interesting. Thanks for that bit of history. But I have another question, please. May or may not be appropriate. I'm not sure. You can decide. Yeah. As a member of the CAG group and having a big role in community decision making, how would you describe your experience on that committee?
I think it was worthwhile. I mean, say I've been involved, as I said, this is the third presentation to council, the third one to the mayor. I've had a few knockbacks in previous years with things I've been involved with, but I found it very good. We had a wide range of people, demographics from young mums with kids to older retirees. And I know there's been comments about the age group in some of the responses. You have a look at the Crescent Head area in the census, and we are twice the state, twice the national per capita of people from 40 to 80. So, of course, there's going to be a huge response from people of that age group. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Foster. Councillor Lawrence.
Thanks, Ross. I just wanted to ask a question about what types of things were discussed that you think that the Dunghutti community could have had an input on. And this was something that I had raised too, particularly about the representative in that space. And I do know that it was because of staff changeover with the Land Council, because that was particularly where council, I believed, asked them to be a part of it. So, yeah, we'll look. I was obviously discussing that around what other things, but yeah, I'll let you answer that now.
Yeah, I think probably just the history of the area. I mean, so I know the Buttons very well, and they talk about their time back in their childhood there. But I think just having an understanding of the history of the foreshore area, we hear it being iconic and this type of thing there. But I think it's probably, I would love to see your people involved a lot more once this is passed. We've got funding 5-10 years, whenever it will be. I won't see it, but I would like to see some form of recognition. There is, I think, there's one little metal sign on the creek side there, Crescent Head, with Indigenous artwork on it, but that's where I would like to see a lot more involvement, certainly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Foster. If there's no further questions, thank you for your presentation today.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We'll now have Mr. Fred Andrews, who'll speak for item 10.1.
Thank you. Good afternoon, councillors and staff. I'm here today representing Crescent Head Residents and Ratepayers Association, which last Thursday voted unanimously to support the CAG design for the Foreshore and Willow Street area. I was also a member of CAG. I'd like to briefly outline why we believe this revised design successfully addresses key community concerns and represents a strong outcome for the Crescent Head community. The Community Markets Group had extensive consultation with council staff and are very satisfied that the proposed design will allow them to continue to be financially successful. Their ongoing presence is vital as the markets contribute significantly to the local school. Community feedback clearly showed a desire for more green space. This design delivers over 1,000 square metres of additional green space. At the same time, it manages to increase total parking by at least 29 spaces, a significant achievement in such a constrained area, providing council agrees to boundary changes to Holiday Park. The proposed layout opens up an ocean view as vehicles enter the foreshore area, immediately enhancing the overall amenity. Traffic flow will also be improved through the inclusion of a dedicated surf check viewing area, reducing congestion at the eastern end turning circle. This space can also serve as an emergency vehicle access point. The introduction of a traffic calming pinch point or kink is intended to discourage large vehicles from entering the eastern side parking area, a known congestion point. This will also support safer pedestrian and vehicle movement. Other improvements include a redesigned central parking area that accommodates larger vehicles safely and improves flow, a bus drop-off zone at the rear of the surf club, additional disabled parking spaces, a small public drop-off near the playground, the retention of a small skate park, maintaining recreational space for young people. Together, these changes support a safer, more accessible, functional and visitor-friendly area. The widened foreshore, up to 14.5 metres in some areas, creates a far more user-friendly green space, particularly near the surf club. While some have expressed concern about the reduced number of car spaces directly facing the ocean, Carrara supports the idea that this public space should be shared and enjoyed by all, not reserved for a small group for all-day parking. With the addition of perpendicular parking on both sides of the road toward the eastern end of the car park, there is still ample opportunity for people to park and enjoy the vibe of Crescent Head. Although there are still concerns that Crescent Head Foreshore is the cheapest campsite with ocean views on the east coast. It's free while there are still no council compliance concerns. Carrara also unanimously supports the proposed upgrades to Willow Street with 61 formalised spaces and improved traffic circulation. This area will provide significant relief for overall parking pressure in the town. The CAG group, representing 16 different interest groups, worked collaboratively and constructively. While most issues were resolved through consensus, one topic did generate robust debate. Council staff noted that survey feedback was complicated by a distributed survey guide that included suggested answers. These submissions could be sent by simply taking a photo, and many CAG members felt they lacked the depth and independence of those who had reviewed council materials or attended information sessions. The majority view was that the guide heavily skewed feedback in favour of one group's perspective and did not fully represent the broader community voice. Even so, the design now includes 29 additional car spaces, an important concession that demonstrates the design team's willingness to listen and adapt. Finally, this planning process has been underway for years. This is the second attempt at developing a new foreshore design. It must have been a significant investment by council, 8 formal meetings and multiple community engagement sessions. And I believe the final outcome reflects that effort. Although I personally do not agree with all the changes, overall concept is good. Council has done an outstanding job engaging the community. I hope that effort is matched now by the resolve to move forward. This is a shared space for locals and visitors alike, and the revised design represents a well-balanced compromise that benefits the whole community. On behalf of Carrara, I respectfully ask that you support the council staff recommendation and adopt the proposed plans. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Andrews. Are there any questions? Councillor Bain.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Andrews, for your presentation. You suggested that the Crescent Head residents and ratepayers represent 16 stakeholder groups, and I believe, and how many representatives from Crescent Head residents and ratepayers were on the CAG, and could you respond to any suggestion that it might have been a bit weighted?
No, Arthur, I said that there were 16 differing groups in the CAG group. There were 5, I think, members from the ratepayers that were on the CAG group, but there were 16 different opinions on the CAG group. So does that answer your question?
Yep, thanks for that clarification. And Mr. Foster, who spoke earlier, said he felt that the CAG was highly representative of the community. Do you support that?
Yeah, totally. I think there was a very good cross-section from young surfers, mothers, business people. Yes, it was quite a good cross-section.
Thank you. Are there any further questions, councillors? Councillor Wyatt.
I'm not sure if Councillor Pace is going to ask that question, but it was asked of the other members as well. As you were on that committee, so, and you talked, and both yourself and Mr. Foster talked about compromise. What aspects would you change if you had the magic wand?
Look, I was opposed to the perpendicular parking in front of the playground where the markets area was, and after consultation with the market people, they were quite confident that they could work with that, because originally that was planned as parallel parking. I also feel that if the kink point, it doesn't go in where the perpendicular parking is in front of the holiday park, that will be a congested area, and that's where there will be a safety issue if that pinch point doesn't reduce the ability for the big white vans to go in and park up all day. And one of the things you've got to remember with this, in the initial CAG group, one of the provisions was, or not provision, but conclusion was that we wanted to try and equal the same number of parking spaces, which was 140. There's now 169.
Yes, please. That was nicely timed. Why do you think so? One of the speakers today mentioned councillors having, emails and conversations. I'm certainly one of those, and I have had some conversation about the compromises that CAG made. And this plan is very different to the first one that was put out. Why do you think a majority of the CAG members supported these changes?
I think it was through the weight of the submissions that suddenly occurred after the 10th of July. And I suppose if you ask the right questions, you can get the right answers. So I don't know what was, sort of spoken to when submissions were handed out at that stage, but there was certainly a big spike. And through the force of, I suppose, the number of submissions that came in, under what circumstances, I don't know.
And just a question around the CAG. So you also were a member of the CAG group,
yep.
And which is basically having a role in community decision making, not too dissimilar to what we have to do. How would you how would you describe your experience in that committee? Yeah,
it was excellent. I think council have done as much as they can to engage the community. They had pop-up sessions. We had 8 meetings, and they were quite extensive, some of them, and almost everybody worked collaboratively and, forego some of the things that they felt was important to them. So I think it was an excellent exercise, and compliments to the council staff.
That's good to know. Thanks for that. And just finally, the issue clearly is around this foreshore car park, this foreshore area, and so I mean, why do you think the foreshore area is so contentious and so important?
Well, I think it's obvious that people want to go and park there all day and hang in the back of their van or whatever it is. And I don't think there's any consideration for, moving once the time limit's up, whether it's 4 hours or whatever. They park there all day, every day. They're there from 5 o'clock until, often camping overnight. And this is one of the big issues. So that's part of the problem. And I think the other thing is to open that area up as you drive in to an ocean view rather than wall-to-wall cars, which is, if you go down to the eastern end, that's exactly what it is. There's vans on both sides all the way through. And if you're talking about perpendicular parking in front of the holiday park, you'll pop out at the end and, see ocean at the end of the eastern turnaround circle. And often you've got to be quick to move there because you get abused, because if you, try and hurry someone up that wants to stay there, good luck.
Councillor Saul.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Andrews, what would happen, what would the community reaction be if there was no decision made tomorrow on this?
Look, I think as far as I am aware, with the ratepayers and many other people that I'm involved with, that they're all a bit over it. It's been going on for years now. I don't know what the cost would be to ratepayers for all of these CAG meetings. There's been council staff at every one, the pop-ups. To ask people to put more submissions in, I think the response would be, here we go again. We're sick of it. So I think, it's got to the pointy end that, thereafter, some decision to be made one way or another.
Thank you, Councillor Coburn.
Thanks for your presentation. Just a question around the realignment of the Crown land to accommodate that additional parking in that eastern position. During your discussions with CAG, were concerns raised about the loss of the 11 camping sites that are situated there and what impact that may have on the future income for the holiday park?
I don't think there was any discussion around that, because initially there was discussion about reducing the foreshore width down to 7.5, which thank goodness that didn't occur. And that's when the front row of cars are back 14.5 metres from the foreshore. Then you've got a double road, and originally it was parallel parking in that position. But through basically the question, we need more parking spaces. And let's face it, you would never put enough parking spaces down there to satisfy everyone. There is a limit to what these places can handle. It was parallel, then it got converted into perpendicular mainly to push for more parking spaces. Thank you.
Councillor Pakes.
Ken, thanks for your presentation.
His name's Fred.
Sorry, Fred. Sorry, Ken.
I'll take that as an insult.
You can keep that between yourselves. I don't want what you do with that. I asked you the same question. If we're going to approach state and federal governments for funding, what's the big win out of this project? Why are we going to get money for its current format? Why?
Look, the big win, as far as I think what came out of the CAG group, was it covers an enormous amount of areas, disabled, the skate park, whether you liked it at the foreshore or not. There was a lot of debate about funds were raised to build the first one, and they wanted it. There was discussion with the school kids. But I think the big one, as far as a lot of the holiday makers that go down there that maybe not be surfers, that don't get a park there, walk down from the houses or whatever and put a lot of money into the economy, is you've got an ocean vista as you drive into the car park, rather than cars parked on both sides, and then you pop out at the easter end. So I suppose I would say the visual amenity of the area would be the positive.
And I'll go to the safety question on the cars passing in that area. Any comment on that? It's not something that came to me at the July 10th meeting. And then after that information came out, any comment on that? And was that something that CAG highlighted as a potential
Well, I think it was the opposite. I think we felt that was a far safer option than sending cars all the way down to the eastern end through two perpendicular lots of parking spaces. And I'm not sure how many kids are allowed on the road if it's bitumen sealed. I mean, the pathways are pretty well marked in the area towards the surf club. The green space, I mean, you can have, I mean, the bollards aren't much use because people just push them over. But I would suggest that it would probably be a far safer option, especially if the pinch point, is done properly, rather than sending cars and the larger vehicles like the Winnebagos and the small buses with the motorbikes on the back. Hopefully, will not go down to the eastern turning circle.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation today, Mr. Andrews.
Thank you.
We now have Mary Lou Lewis, who will speak for item 10.3, Stewart's Point Structure Plan.
Are you ready?
Yeah, whenever you are.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, councillors, staff, those who are leaving and those who are staying. I'm going to talk for the structure plan for Stewart's Point that is recently on the agenda. And I'm speaking for it to go to exhibition, but there's probably a few changes that I'm going to bring to your attention that I'd like included before it goes on public exhibition. And I'll try and fit it into the time frame. So SPADCO in the past has done a number of conversations with the community and surveys, asked questions about what they want, what they hold dear for Stewart's Point, and it has aligned with what's been presented in this document. So that's really nice to see that the consultant and the council staff have listened to the people. It's very, very encouraging. It says also in the document that 26 surveys were undertaken and 28 downloads. So that's a limited number, really. We'll be holding a community meeting on the 26th of November, on the 16th of November, where we will be discussing the structural plan, and hopefully anybody is willing to join us, you're welcome to, and hopefully we can have some real discussions about the nitty-gritty of this document. One issue that's not included in the document is the local Indigenous Namba community. They're very much part of the community of Stewart's Point, and they should be reflected adequately in the document. I think it's missing there. The thorough research that the consultants have done to gather the background information has created a confusing picture about how many houses are proposed to be built. So it goes from increasing, get a picture. And speaking of pictures, we've got a lot of sweeteners in there that planning for the overall Stewart's Point area. And the sweeteners, including a new town centre, a ring road for the trucks, cycleways and walkways, new shops, post office, transport, industry opportunities, extended childcare centres, drainage, health service. They're all really important, and that's what the community have been crying is lacking in Stewart's Point. But these are sweeteners which will come from a development, and I fail to see how we would fund those sweeteners with a small gradual development. There's limitations that are on any development in the area, and they're adequately brought to our attention. Inadequate potable water with an increase of population. Electricity supply is inadequate at the moment. We have outages regularly. The threatened plant communities and the high environmental value around the village. It's currently vegetated. Floods and fires. They're the big ones. We talk about infill for bringing the PMF up, and we know that infill has an effect on neighbours. So I would imagine that the community will be very concerned about the word infill. We've got an ageing population, and zoning will need to be changed to accommodate a denser community building within the township. There's other limitations that have not been mentioned, like Wi-Fi's, run out of time, but there's a particular gem which is to embrace the natural environment that we have, to protect it, to use it as a draw card for destination tourism. I think that's a real winner. And I really do wish Council well in dealing with future development in Stewart's Point. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Lou. Councillor Wyatt.
Oh, thank you. So can you do you have that as writing, but can you what would you like changed for before it went out on public exhibition? Are you asking us to change something before it went on public exhibition, or
Yeah. Oh, well,
what is that specifically?
I think to include the Indigenous Nambar community is a must. I think we owe them respect for doing that. To clarify the numbers of the increased growth, it's just in that paragraph about talking about all the different documents which they've drawn information from over the last 10 years. It's just really confusing. And so how many houses are they talking? What are we talking about? It's unclear. So I would recommend that you make that clear. They're the 2 points, I think.
Thank you for that. I raised that question too about the numbers. So yeah, thank you for that clarification. And what's not in there about? And are you sort of saying that this document fails to identify the Nambar community at all?
Oh, they did mention that the Nambar community respected the Yarrahapini Mountain and its cultural significance within the mountain.
Okay, is there, and I've only just got it and skimmed through, is there any mention there to the Aboriginal heritage areas and the reserve?
Yeah.
And the custodian groups associated with that management and Golden Hole? Is there anything in there about
There is
that?
a mention of the Golden Hole.
Yep.
That's under management of the national parks.
I think they're actually Register of National State.
National State? Okay. So yeah, that's a big item in our community, and even the local people don't realise how amazingly significant that is. So that could definitely be expanded. But I guess all these details will come from the public exhibition period, which is going to occur just before Christmas, which means that people won't look at it, which is very unfortunate.
May I follow up? You mentioned you're having a meeting on the 26th of November.
16th
of November, yeah.
Yep.
Yep. And SPADCO have been amazing in their getting it together information before. Would SPADCO be willing to, or just to engage with the Nambar people to make sure that their feedback is included here? Because they may or may not see your say Macleay, go to a meeting, but would you be able to facilitate something for them to have an input? I think that's really
Before I mentioned it, I spoke to the Nambar community today, and she's active. Elaine Carmody is active in the advisory committee, so yes, she wants it to be known.
Thank you. Are there any further questions, councillors? Councillor Pakes.
You see the to the west of Stewart's Point, the area that you highlight, the threatened species and so on. That's where the development is. The sprawl of Stewart's Point is supposed to go. Stewart's Point's one way in, one way out. Has anyone in Stewart's Point considered any other options with bridging to South Rocks, or is that something that anyone in Stewart's Point is talking about? And does that have a place in this plan?
It was brought to the table some years ago, and it was knocked back.
By
I think it was connected with the sewer, I believe. The sewer and the road to Southwest Rocks were going to be a joint advantage. We'd bring the sewer from Southwest Rocks and we'd be able to access that area. I think it was just knocked on the head because it was going to cost too much money and we'd have to go through Indigenous land to get there. Yeah.
Do you see value in something like that? But we're talking, this is a strategic step forward, probably 30 years. In time, do you think that's going to be pressured to, what we should be looking at now? If we really want to be in front of the game and we want Stuart's Point to have the best services possible, and that does highlight, the document highlights the shortages that will be highlighted by further studies and so on. If you really want to be serious about it, do you think that's something that perhaps now would be the time to consider?
Me personally, no, I don't think so. Just because there's that extra piece of land that is very, very sensitive that we'd have to open up to get to that access of Southwest Rocks. I don't think it'd be worthwhile. And it's so close to the coast with climate change. I don't know. I think it's dangerous to even.
Thank you, Mary Lou. Is there any further questions? All right. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
We now have Mr. Graham Carrad speaking for 11.1, Notice of Motion, Declaration of Climate Emergency.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Mr. CEO, council officers, council staff. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk today, and I'd like to acknowledge that I'm in Dunghutti country, and I'm going to test your tolerance of leaving the protocol, Madam Mayor, by saying that I work on Dunghutti country, part of Landcare, and take it as a great privilege to be able to do so. And I'm just going to divert very quickly and say I note that my Landcare group at Big Nobby has been nominated to receive a community grant. So not trying to bias your decision anyway, I'd just like to thank you all if that goes through. I won't go into what happens if it doesn't. So I do speak in favour of the point you mentioned, which is put up by Councillor White. And I recall it was not long ago that I was addressing council, praising them for their strong and definitive recognition and use of the words around climate change in reference to the flood plan. So I wondered if this sort of document was being created by council, why the hell would Councillor White need to submit this notice of motion? It might seem redundant to many. So I went searching, and upon searching council's website for the term climate change, I found that the page dedicated to it acknowledges its existence and the need to do something about it, but it's not a document that commits to anything in particular and certainly has no roadmap to any goals. There is reference to a preliminary risk assessment in 2021 with a full risk assessment in the future. There's no indication that this has been done and no link to it if it has been done. In the community strategic plan, the term climate variability is used. It seems to soften the blow of the reality for me. I can understand that Councillor White wants it out there so that staff know that it is a guiding principle for planning and actions. The community knows that the council cares about them and want to give them the best chance to adapt to what the future holds. It should be as obvious as the welcome to country or the warning that communication with council needs to be polite and abuse will not be tolerated. With strong statements, there is no ambiguity of values for the members of the leadership groups, be they council employees or councillors, in order that the principle can trickle down to employees or the community. The Sustainability and Resilience Strategy has a goal under Key Issues Raised, Theme 2, Environment, and that is use language to create more positive actions. Councillor Wyatt's words are working toward that goal, and if nothing else, this notice of motion should be praised for its completeness. It is not simply asking for something and expecting council to come up with a proposal, but provides all that is needed for implementation. Background, purpose, economics, risks and precedents are all lucid and compelling. It covers the 3 R's, roads, rates and rubbish, which will be an important consideration in the minds of many. How refreshing to have someone do all the legwork in an attempt to work with their colleagues to achieve an outcome. I feel it is almost in a form that could be used to update the What Are We Doing climate change webpage. I'm compelled to thank Councillor White for her efforts and recommend highly that her proposal be adopted. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, do we have any questions? I hear none. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks. May I ask a question, or the gentleman too late? Oh, it doesn't matter. Leave it. It's fine.
All right. Thank you. We'll now have Mr. Lindsay K, like Maclay, against item 12.1 Kempsey PCYC.
Councillors, citizens, did you miss me? Sorry, you can't answer that because of the code of conduct. Now, I have been trying to inject a little bit more positivity into our interactions, so it does pay me somewhat to have to oppose 12.1 and be negative about it, but really this is only because it's better to be cautious. If I was to speak in favour of it, then I would have no ground later to backtrack to. And might I kick off by saying that the PCYC does good work. If you recall my previous addresses where I address youth in the Valley, when I did my examination of youth services in the Valley, the PCYC were among one of the very few groups that were actually providing worthwhile services to youth in the community. So I would like to encourage them very much in their activities, and to that end, after doing my research, I became a member of the PCYC. So I'm in no way opposed to the PCYC and their activities. Which leads me to, there can really only be 2 ways that this matter is a confidential matter. Now, hopefully it's not a legal matter. We haven't gotten ourselves in a position where we're having a legal stoush between the PCYC and the Kempsey Shire Council. I would really hope that that was the stuff of nightmares and not something to be considered. So therefore, the only other way that there could be in confidential is if it is commercial in confidential, because there's some sort of a commercial agreement that's being put in place between the PCYC and the council. That concerns me somewhat more greatly than the previously mentioned legal nightmare, because in the absence of any information, this means that we must only be able to adhere ourselves to rumour. And as far as rumour goes, well, I can go back 3, possibly more years when I first got the sniff of there being some plan for there being some multi-purpose centre being, and every time I've followed up, it's like, oh no, there's nothing of the sort being considered and we're not doing this, and oh, well, who could say? Well, this is the sort of thing that ends up in disputes and long-term confusion about what we're doing and how we move forward with that. And there's echoes of the process which we've just heard about at Crescent Head with that sort of thing. We need proper processes, and it's not as if there hasn't been consultation done in the youth space by various people. It isn't like there aren't other players in the youth space. There isn't anything that necessarily makes the PCYC special. So why isn't this being at the tail end of a broader consultation process rather than being something that's being considered in confidential as the first step? There are youth issues in this valley and they need to be addressed in consultation with the youth. When the youth are consulted, you know what one of the main things they say is? That they're sick and tired of being told what's going to be done for them. They want to be asked what should be done for them, not told. And this disrespects the input that youth put into this sort of process. I recall also in November 2023, we had a bunch of young people come up here and talk passionately about issues in the valley. Nothing has been done to respect their input. Nothing. And that's a shame. There's been a scare recently about crime and youth crime in the valley. Well, go and look at Boscar. There is nothing in that. If you want to look at what trends up, it's domestic violence, sexual assault, and motor vehicle theft. They're the things that are on the increase in our region. The things that are going down are break and enter, stealing, and malicious damage. So it would seem like we're chasing our tails to no avail. And a lot of the crime issues are broader issues outside council control. I'd also note that it goes against how to run a process under page 27 of the Community Strategic Plan, Objective 4.1, and what about the trust bucket? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kay. Councillors, do we have any questions? Councillor Coburn.
Very difficult to have questions around this because it is a matter that sits as confidential.
I won't say if you don't.
I'm not going to say anything. What I wanted to ask you about was, what do you see as something that youth would really be gung-ho about, boots and all in for, if something was being proposed?
The number one issue that youth identify when asked in this valley is having a safe space. They want a safe space. And when you think about what a safe space is and you listen to young people, that's one of the reasons why the PCYC's current location doesn't work, because that is the area of town they don't feel safe in. I would additionally say, though, that all of this talk about increased crime, when in fact it's going down, makes our youth not feel safe. And it's not always the reality, it's the perception of it that counts. But to that end, if there is to be a safe space for youth, it has to be somewhere central that has good access to transportation. And if we talk about a safe space, it also should be somewhere where we're not going to go blah, 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 blah during every flood. So that should also address our things, our focus. And I would all point to the old Norco site by the railway line. It's Crown land. Why aren't we using it?
Thank you, Mr. Kay.
Just to provide some clarification for you, Mr. Kay, the reason that the report is in confidence is on page 66. The report is submitted on a confidential basis as it involves commercial information of a confidential nature. So it's for that reason rather than for the legal reason.
Thank you. If there's no further questions, we'll thank you, Mr. Kay, for speaking on Public Forum today, and thank you to all of our speakers, our gallery, and everyone watching online. Thank you for your participation, and I will now close the Public Forum. Thank you.